The lunchtime rush had barely started when the moment that would change Caden Holt's life forever walked through the glass doors of Shoreline Bistro. The sun outside was bright enough to blur the horizon, but inside the restaurant, shadows of worry clung to Caden like a second skin. His apron, still damp from the morning cleanup, clung to his waist as he tried to ignore the weight of overdue bills folded inside his pocket. He moved from table to table with a polite smile, but inside, his heart felt like a tire worn down to its last thread. Life had been grinding him in slow, painful circles, and this day, this very ordinary day, was about to tilt everything in a direction he never expected. If you're already feeling the emotion and believe in kindness and second chances, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Everyday kindness. It truly helps these stories reach more hearts. Caden's life had become an exhausting loop. Wake his 6-year-old son, Rowan, drop him at his neighbor's before school, take the earliest shift at the bistro, rush home for dinner, and pray he made enough in tips to cover the rent before someone shut the lights off again. The restaurant wasn't glamorous. Bright daytime sun poured through the windows, exposing every scratch on the wooden floors and every chip on the tables, but it was stable enough to keep him afloat. And then the billionaire entered. Not just any billionaire, but Maxim Rourke, a man whose name floated through financial headlines like a gust of wind. Technology empire, record-breaking acquisitions, philanthropic controversies, a ruthless smile captured by paparazzi lenses. He walked in wearing a suit that probably cost more than Caden made in 2 months. He didn't come in with a crowd, just one assistant who stood quietly behind him like a shadow. People whispered, pointing subtly, phones sliding out for discreet photos. But Caden, who had seen celebrities before during tourist season, simply grabbed a menu and approached him with steady hands. Maxim looked at him with unreadable eyes, sharp, cold, detached. "Table for one," he said, and even his voice sounded expensive. Caden led him to a window seat, sunlight pouring over the billionaire's polished watch as he sat. The assistant waited by the door but watched every movement as if protecting royalty. Caden took Maxim's order, grilled lemon salmon, no butter, double vegetables, sparkling water, and delivered it quickly, politely, trying not to let nerves show. But something about the man's silence felt heavy. He didn't smile, didn't acknowledge compliments, didn't look impressed. The meal ended in 20 quiet minutes. Not a single nod of approval, not a single comment. And when he finally stood to leave, Maxim placed the receipt face down on the table, stepped away, and walked out without a backward glance. Caden approached, already bracing for disappointment. Wealthy customers often tipped well, but just as often, some left nothing at all. He turned the receipt over. Tip, 0.2. His heart dropped. His throat clenched. A billionaire had just eaten a $68 lunch and left the same tip he often received from tourists who complained about everything. Caden swallowed the sting, blinking hard because he refused to break down on the job. His manager already thought he was too emotional. But as he collected the plates, something caught his eye. A small white envelope, thin and barely noticeable, tucked under the rim of the large ceramic dish. For a moment he thought it might be trash, maybe a napkin stuffed underneath. But when he pulled it free, he realized it was sealed, with his name written on it. Caden. His chest tightened. How did the billionaire know his name? He checked quickly, but Maxim Rourke had already left. The assistant, too. The sidewalk outside was empty, except for a couple walking their dog. Caden slipped the envelope into his pocket, heart hammering, and finished his shift on autopilot. The world moved around him, but everything felt strange, lighter, but also terrifyingly uncertain. When he got home to his small rented apartment, Rowan ran to him, messy hair bouncing, wearing the same superhero cape he insisted on every day. Dad, guess what? I drew us a robot that can cook spaghetti." Caden smiled, lifting him up, breathing in the scent of crayons and vanilla cookies. "That sounds awesome, buddy." But his mind kept circling back to the envelope. After Rowan settled in the living room with his coloring book, Caden finally sat down on the edge of his bed and opened it. Inside was a folded letter. The handwriting was sharp, elegant, unmistakably expensive. It read, "I apologize for the 0 tip. I did it on purpose. If you're reading this, I want you to know I watched how you treated every customer today, not just me. You showed patience, dignity, and humility despite obvious exhaustion. I saw something else too. A man carrying more than he admits. If you're willing, come to the address below tomorrow at noon. M.R." Below the signature was an address in the wealthiest part of the city. Caden stared, confused, suspicious, hopeful, terrified. He didn't know what this meant. Was it a job? An evaluation? Some kind of prank? But deep inside, something whispered that he had nothing to lose and everything to gain. The next day, under the clear midday sun, he arrived at the large iron gate of a mansion that looked like it belonged in a magazine. The house was modern, all glass and stone, sunlight reflecting sharply off every surface. A guard checked his ID and let him in. Maxime met him inside, wearing casual clothes now, still expensive, but less intimidating. Without the suit, he looked human. "I'm glad you came," Maxime said, motioning him into the massive living room. "Sit." Caden did, hands trembling slightly. "I left you no tip yesterday," Maxime said, pacing slowly, "because I needed to see your reaction." Caden swallowed. "I don't understand." "You didn't curse. You didn't glare. You didn't complain to your coworkers. Most people do. But you just kept working. That kind of restraint is rare." Caden's voice cracked before he could stop it. "I didn't have the energy to complain. I'm doing my best to keep things together for my son." That single word, son, froze Maxime's steps. For a long, silent moment, the billionaire stared through the large, sunlit window, jaw tightening as if something pained him deeply. Finally, he said, "I had a son once." Caden blinked, unsure how to respond. "He passed 5 years ago." Maxime's voice wavered slightly, the first crack in his stone-hard exterior. "A rare condition. Unexpected. I was too busy to notice how sick he had become." The room felt impossibly still. "That's why I watched you," Maxime continued. "You treat people like they matter. You treated me like I mattered, even though you had no reason to. I've spent years trying to find ways to honor my son's memory. Money is easy, but finding people worth investing in, that's different." Caden whispered, "I'm sorry for your loss." Maxime nodded. "Thank you." He handed Caden a folder. Inside was a thick stack of documents. "I want to help you," Maxime said softly. "Not out of pity, out of respect." Caden opened the folder and felt the breath leave his lungs. A check, not for 100, not for 1,000, but for $100,000, marked as a personal grant. Caden's hands shook violently. "Sir, I can't accept this." "Yes, you can." Maxime stepped closer, placing a firm hand on his shoulder. "This is not charity. This is opportunity. Use it to give your son the life you've been fighting for." Tears overflowed before Caden could stop them. Sunlight through the tall windows turned every tear into a tiny burning star. "I don't know how to thank you." "Live a good life," Maxime said. "That's the only repayment I want." Caden drove home with the envelope pressed to his chest like a heartbeat. He picked Rowan up and hugged him tighter than ever, spinning him around in the golden afternoon light outside their building. "Dad!" "What happened?" Caden couldn't speak. He just buried his face in Rowan's hair, whispering, "Everything is going to be okay now, buddy, I promise." That week, Caden paid off debts, moved them into a safer apartment with warm sunlight and clean walls, and enrolled Rowan in a better school. He kept working. He didn't want to waste the money, but life no longer felt like drowning. It felt like breathing again. Months passed, and the connection between Caden and Maxim slowly grew. Not as employee and billionaire, but as two fathers bonded by heartbreak, hope, and the fragile threads of second chances. If this story touched your heart, please make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Everyday Kindness. Your support helps these life-changing stories reach more people who need them. Before we end, comment below. Kindness can change a life. Your words might inspire someone today. And with that, Caden and Rowan's story continued. Proof that even a zero tip can lead to a priceless beginning when kindness hides beneath the surface.